Humans study for the bigger part of their lives. It starts way before school when we learn how to sit, walk, and speak. It also continues way past high school or university. Take your granny learning to operate a smartphone, for instance. Because it takes up so much of our lives, we often believe that we know how to do it. But is it really the truth? In this video, we will show you how to become better at studying by using psychologically backed methods. We will cover the basis of learning through repetition, including maintenance and elaborate rehearsals. We will also explain how learning through association based on classical and operant conditioning works. Let's get learning. Learning through repetition is exactly what it sounds like. It can be as blunt as repeating something again and again and again and again. Well, you get the picture. This is called maintenance rehearsal. It can take the form of both verbal and written repetition, and works best if you do both. For example, when you're taking notes for your next exam, read what you write out loud. In some cases, you might need to remember a long line of numbers and letters. What you can do to make it simpler is to group them in chunks. For instance, instead of repeating to yourself 19113 429ZP, you can rehearse the numbers as a date 1913 0429 and form a word from the last letters. For instance, zipper. Another form of learning through repetition is elaborative rehearsal. There are many ways to do it, but we will explore 3 examples. If you're from Florida, you might have learned this rhyme as a kid. Red touching black, safe for Jack. Red touching yellow, kill a fellow. It is actually one of the forms of elaborate rehearsal. Instead of memorizing the color sequence of dangerous snakes, you elaborate on the topic by creating a rhyme, which makes it easier to rehearse and memorize the colors. Another way to learn the order of something could be by creating a sentence from the first letters of the words you want to memorize. For instance, if you are having trouble remembering which planet goes after another in our solar system, you could try recalling a sentence, "My very excellent mother just served us noodles." If rhymes and sentences are not your thing, maybe a clever pun is more to your liking. They might not get many laughs, but they are sure to do the job by memorizing, let's say, the elements of the periodic table. Just don't forget that this is still a form of learning through repetition. So say it or write it down multiple times to get it edged into your mind. But if repetition is not something that you see yourself doing, maybe learning through association can be more helpful? One way to employ association is by using classical conditioning. You might have heard of Pavlov's experiment where a bell is rung and then a dog is given a treat. The sound of the bell and the treat becomes so much connected in the dog's head that it learns to expect treats whenever the sound of a bell is heard. Now, ringing a bell during an exam can seem a little weird, but there are other things you could condition, for instance, the environment you're in. Studying for the exam at the same location where you'll take it, classroom or your desk for an online one, could work as a form of classical conditioning. The same goes for study dates. Learning the correct answers with the same people who are going to sit near you during an exam might be helpful. Other things like a candle scent or specific background music could also work as cues for classical conditioning. However, they might not be very helpful if your teacher doesn't allow you to use them during the exam. But things like a specific flavor of bubble gum or soda could be more in handy inside a classroom. As described by Skinner, conditioning could also be operant. In this case, a dog would be given the command to sit. When the condition command is fulfilled, it gets a treat. This way, the dog learns that by responding to the command sit and sitting down, it will receive a treat. In this case, the received treat is a positive reinforcer. If you were to apply this tactic to your studies, the positive reinforcer can be any kind of reward, for example, a snack, a movie, or a few relaxing minutes of doing nothing. The fulfilled task would be an achieved goal for your studies, like learning the planets of the solar system. Instead of reinforcement, you could also use punishments for yourself. For instance, if you don't reach your daily learning goals, restricting social media, Not treating yourself to a much-wanted face mask or a gaming session with your friend would be the consequence for that. Neutral operants are also a part of the Skinner's model. For a self-study session, it could take the form of self-assessment and process monitoring. Just don't forget to keep it low stakes, don't attach emotional significance to the results, and observe them from a side to not assign any negative or positive emotional consequences. Time to put this into practice.